And welcome back to another Buffalo pregame. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe because this is the one you've all been waiting for. The Short and Frightened is real. It is our most watched episode of every season. It's when the Bills get knocked out of the playoffs. So, hello to the thousands of you watching our misery. We're glad to have you here. For those of you who don't know, the Bills did suffer a difficult loss against the Broncos. And Jared, you've already had a lot to say, so we'll start off with you. What hurts the most right now?
What hurts the most is that I truly thought that the Bills were the better team in the game. Like all those Chiefs games, even the Bengals games, I felt that the other team actually was better in all of them. It's like I always knew there were uphill climbs, and I'm not trying to disrespect the Broncos. Number one seed being 14-3 is extremely impressive. But like I'm watching this team play all game, and I'm like, oh my God, we're such a better team. So we really just shot ourselves in the foot with the five turnovers. I mean, they showed that graphic where like only one team won with the 3 point turnover differential in 1977 or something along those lines. And it's like, yeah, you're not gonna get it done like that. So that's what frustrated me the most is that like I really felt like we play a cleaner game. We have that easily. And one thing I know you're gonna go through it. Like two of their scores came on defensive substitutions. Darnell Savage was put in, they immediately score on him. Dane Jackson was put in, they immediately score on him. So I mean, you take that away. I mean, you take a lot away, but that alone, it's just like 14 points goes up on like just a couple mismatches.
More than those 14 points, the 3-point field goal at the end of the first half that didn't have to happen hurt me a lot worse. Sean, what hurts the most for you? Like which mess up along the path like it stands out the most in your recollection?
Yeah, I think the fact that you didn't have to go against Patty Mahomes and or Lamar Jackson and or Joe Burrow. So the fact that you had a pretty clear path to that and you didn't have the one seed, and that's probably a big reason, why you didn't win that game. It really, that's what, they had always talked about doing is getting that first seed and they couldn't do it. Otherwise, I'm pretty numb to it at this point. So it doesn't, it hurt, but people were freaking out, but I was like, it's like the Browns fans, like they don't really expect much, So it's like, we lose every year in the playoffs. I don't know.
Hurts so good, right? Since you brought up the Bo Nix not being a premier quarterback, does it like hurt more, less, or no effect at all the fact that he hurt his ankle and he's not going to be Super Bowl winning quarterback this year, no matter what?
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, I always say I think some of this stuff is rigged, or biased, by refs, maybe not, you know, consciously, maybe subconsciously they're biasing it for, the best ratings. I really do think that Taylor Swift thing was, rigged. Um, but yeah, I do think, yeah, that I mean, that's the worst case scenario for the NFL. They would never want that. And, they got it. So now the Patriots are gonna probably run all over them and, we're gonna get another BS Super Bowl. Hopefully the Rams smack the heck out of the Patriots.
An argument against the game being rigged. Now that's something we did not expect on today's episode. All right, Dan, for you, what sticks out the most in the painful loss of the Bills?
I think, I know we're going to get into the Sean McDermott firing in a little bit, but the fact that they fired him and now it seems like, all right, well, it seems like we're starting over a little bit. So it seems like with the team that we had, that's going to be gone. There's going to be changes, hopefully for the better, maybe for the worse, who knows? Um, you know, and they had it. And then, like Jared mentioned, they were the better team that game. If you don't win a playoff game when you have five turnovers, and I think like a couple of those, what are you gonna do? But that Josh Allen fumble, that was brutal. I mean, that was he could have thrown 30 yards down the field trying to get in the field goal range, and it gets intercepted, and that would have been better. He could have fumbled and they recovered it, or he could have fumbled and they recovered it right where he got tackled, and it probably still would have been fine. But the fact that he fumbled and the ball went 10 yards backwards, that was just killer. And I mean, give up 3 points. People say, oh, we gave them these points. They literally gave them 3 points there. It was the last play of the first half. And then they ended up losing by 3. So obviously, if that doesn't happen, that changes the rest of the game. But, I think you can't. I think Josh played pretty good, but, it seems like maybe he's not, maybe it hasn't been as sharp as he was in the last few years.
Well, I mean, if you believe the words he says, he feels that he let the team down. So, I mean, he certainly feels that there's things that he could have done better. Since no one mentioned it at all, I will not allow this thing to end without mentioning the Cooks catch slash interception. If there is going to be any discussion about the league putting the thumb on the outcome of the game, that has to be the spot where it happens. And Sean talking about conspiracy. Oh boy, do I love talking about the Bills being the target of the NFL, conspiracies not winning. And maybe this is just because we have an old stadium that doesn't bring in a revenue share equivalent to that of other teams. Maybe this is just the way the NFL sticks it to the Buffalo market for not funding a new stadium any sooner. So maybe this is all behind us. Maybe this is the last time we'll have to deal with a ridiculous call that we have to learn new minutia of the rules of the NFL that in this case are called the exact opposite in the next game a couple hours later in order for the Bills to be handed a loss in the playoffs. So maybe you get a new shiny stadium that brings in more revenue next year and we don't have to deal with this ever again. But man, did it ever hurt there watching? Like, I know they're going to screw us. And it was great that McDermott called timeout to force the league to check out the play again. Pull out that red flag. Why not
He
let the
couldn't.
entire world, Jared, quiet,
They couldn't at
quiet,
that point in the
Jared,
game.
let me finish, and then I know you got something to say. But pull out that red flag. The penalty's a 5-yard penalty. You're about to lose the game. A 15 personal foul, 15-yard penalty just happened anyway. 5 more yards is nothing. Like, show the world that you know that is the wrong call. Just it might have saved his job. Throwing the red flag there might have saved his job. Jared, whatever you say is wrong, but say it now.
All right. So the four things that really bugged me about like the whole thing, which you're getting into. So before they went to overtime, there was clear pass interference in the end zone that would have put the ball right at the 1, I believe. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, there's PI," but at the end of the game, I don't want the refs to do that. I don't want them to just give the Bills the game, right? And then same thing even with the Cooks catch. And I know this is a weird way of looking at it, but like, did I think it was a catch? And did everybody think it was a catch? Absolutely. Everybody yells catch and like, oh no, wait, it's an interception. The call on the field was interception. If the refs overturn the call, they give the Bills the game. Like that's what happens. And then it's like, okay, I don't want the refs to do that. I don't like the call, but I don't want the refs to overturn themselves essentially and like basically say Buffalo wins the game. I don't want that. But then on that drive, 2 times, one absolutely horrible, the his pass interference, which was no pass interference at all. You can make an argument for Trey White, but in both of the cases, the extended the drive. You hadn't been calling it all game, and then you're going to change it. You change it then. Now, why? That's where fun conspiracies can come into mind because the other game at that point is being delayed. Now, according to the lovely research of the world, it's apparently a good thing for the NFL to delay the other game because more rad revenue comes in. I don't know. I think you have people PO'd in Seattle if they have to wait a whole extra hour for the game to start. People have lives, people have babysitters at home, a 10-minute delay is bad enough. So that's what pissed me off. I think the second Denver got the ball, they're like, okay, we got to speed this up. And right before that penalty, there was another one that they waved off. They didn't throw the flag. And I think somebody was like, okay, we don't want them all tackling each other out there. Okay, fine. But again, the calls you made gave Denver the game. That's what gets me. They gave them the game when they could have given us the game. And I didn't even want that. I wanted them to just play fair and be done with it.
I was just worried that you were going to say that McDermott shouldn't have thrown that flag in contest, but that's fine. What you said was true after all. Crisis averted.
Yeah, but none of that matters though because we've gotten one sack. Like the last time we got a sack in a playoff game was like 3 years ago in the AFC Championship game or something like that or whatever it was. Come on. I mean,
The
It,
amount of time Bo Nix had was crazy.
I mean, how do you do that? Where the heck is Bosa? I mean, I get it. 5 turnovers, blah, 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 like whatever. All this conspiracies. It shouldn't come down to that. We should have smoked them like we did last year.
All right. Well, Dan, we haven't heard from you, so we'll start with you on the next question. McDermott firing, Beane promotion. Is one justified? Is one wrong? Are you happy with the decisions? Did you notice Terry Pegula's spelling error the first time they released the notice?
Um, I didn't really. I noticed it when other people pointed out, but I didn't really sift through it too much. I feel like being a Bills and Sabres fan, you get a lot of those long notes about things that happened with the organization. So I didn't really sift through it myself, but I did notice that is quite insane to have a spelling error in the first sentence of the message. But nonetheless, I didn't think they were going to fire either of them. Honestly, I didn't think either of them deserve to get fired after this season. But if you're going to fire one of them, it seems like the obvious choice would have been to fire Beane, given how poor the roster was all season. I think that there might have been years past where McDermott, performed badly as a coach in the playoffs, where he might have deserved to get fired. But this one certainly wasn't on him. Um, and that came as a shock. I think that came as a shock to a lot of Bills fans that they fired him. It didn't really seem like that was the right move, or it doesn't seem like it's the right move. Now, I think their best scenario is to go get an offensive coach and, try that. But, it seems like McDermott had a lot of respect in the locker room. And, to get rid of him and to keep the guy who's not in the locker room, that could cause some issues next year. Obviously, there's going to be some new players and, it's going to be a different energy. But no, I definitely don't think they should have fired McDermott. In my opinion, I would have given one more year. If next year at this time they lose in the divisional round or even in the AFC Championship, next year if they don't make the Super Bowl, sure, I think it's justified to fire him. But after this year, I don't agree with it.
All right, Jared, 80% of coaches that win the Super Bowls do so in their first 6 years of an organization. After 9 years, McDermott, hasn't even made it to a Super Bowl. Did we wait too long to fire him?
No, but you hit the point right where I was gonna say. Because like this makes no sense from a winning perspective. We've won every year with the exception of Allen's rookie year, which was like a throwaway, right? But when you look at it from the pure perspective of Super Bowl appearances, like that's your metric. Almost no one, like you were just alluding to, almost no one lasts this long without an appearance, right? You might not necessarily win, but you at least need to have an appearance. Like Tomlin and Harbaugh, they both got fired or they resigned or whatever. And yeah, they both won Super Bowls, but not in the last 10 years. So there seems to be this imaginary 10-year rule that is hanging around. Now, Marvin Lewis, he was on the Bengals for what 16 years and never went to the Super Bowl, and he stuck it out. There are some exceptions: Jim Mora, Dennis Green. I think there's a couple, one or two others, but like that's what it came down to in the end. They didn't. I hate to say it, they didn't care about the winning. They cared about the Super Bowl at this point. They're like, nope, somebody has to get in the Super Bowl. So we don't care that we have a chance to get in the Super Bowl every year. That's basically the metric they chose.
Sean, any strong opinions on this?
I think it's shocking that they did it this year, especially when I think Sean really had one of his best years. I think all the years leading up to this, he was definitely on the chopping block, and then they do it this year. I think it's interesting that they had kind of what they said was like a power struggle with the owner siding with Beane. I wonder what that's about. Hopefully something like that, something about that comes out in the press conference. Supposed to be tomorrow or something. Um, and you know what? I know for years everyone was saying like you got to get an offensive coach. You got to get an offensive coach. And the fact is that we haven't had any sacks in the playoffs. Where is Sean McDermott's defense? Like I know you're going against really good offenses and stuff like that, but like all the success during the season, like what happens? I mean, they figure you out or I don't know. So, but the one thing I'll have to say about Bean is he better get this right because he just got elevated to, you know, president or, yeah, president of football operations, and he's hiring a coach now. So it's on him. And, he's going to want to prove himself right because otherwise I think he's gone too. And then we got to start all over. Hopefully that's a long time from now, but.
All right, well, starting all over, do you think the press conference tomorrow we're announcing a new coach already? And we just fired a very popular coach for the players. Do you think we hire another players coach? Or like what do you think that the Bills are looking for in their characteristics wise for our next coach? Sean, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, I think it's got to be an offensive guy. You're not going to fire a defensive coach and hire another defensive coach, my opinion. Um, you can't have a guy that's, just, one of these hard nosed, Belichick, like my way or the highway. I just don't think you can do that. Just because of the type of coach Sean is, and you can't just change that culture completely from what Sean built. Obviously, he did an amazing job. So I'm thinking offensive. Obviously, that takes Belichick out of it. I don't think they're going to hire Tomlin. He's a defensive guy too, I think, isn't he? And he comes from the Sean McDermott tree anyway. So you're getting the same thing really with him. Good culture, really good defense. Yeah, I'm thinking Klint Kubiak. I think he was already rumored to be the top choice from Jeremy White's leaked source that he says. So unfortunately, I have to wait until, February 8th or 9th or whatever it is to get that and to go now. So yeah, it's gotta wait a little bit to get that. I don't think they're gonna do that tomorrow.
All right, Jared, what are you thinking about what we're looking for in a new coach?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it seems like they just want somebody to coach. You know what I mean? Like they've given all their other responsibilities to Brandon Beane. We had this weird dichotomy where like McDermott was kind of ahead of Beane, and I just don't think they want to do that anymore. However, that makes the job unappealing because a lot of coaches want that now. I mean, I think Liam Cohen, like down in Jacksonville, basically demanded like he needs to have more say. Bill Belichick, Sean, you were alluding to, like had a lot of say, obviously, in what the Patriots did. So we need somebody who's just going to shut up and coach. And if they're looking at Super Bowl appearances is the prerequisite, there's only two people available right now in the last 10 years, and that's Bill Belichick and Doug Pederson. Yeah. He's sucked almost every year except the year he won the Super Bowl. But I'm gonna throw in my dark horse candidate that Doug Pederson just he backed up Brett Favre for years. He's gonna come in here, he's gonna be quiet and just coach the team and he has the Super Bowl experience. They won Super Bowl 52. So
The Packers, Brett Favre. If we hire a defensive guy, any chance that Josh could be his offensive coordinator coach?
what was the question, Randy? I'm sorry.
If the Bills hire a defensive-minded head coach, could Josh be a coordinator coach or a coordinator player?
No.
All right, Dan. Well, Jared did not even want to engage with that. Dan, what do you think we're looking for in a head coach?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with Sean and Jared. I think they do need to get an offensive coach. Klint Kubiak does seem like the best option. If they can really get that offense going and then, even maintain a defense, I think they win against the Broncos, and I think they have a shot at the Super Bowl. McDermott's a defensive coach, and they struggled in the playoffs. Well, I mean, they played well against the Jaguars, but they certainly struggled against the Broncos. Um, so I think, getting an offensive coach, I'm glad that the Giants hired Harbaugh. I would have hated to get Harbaugh. Please, for the love of God, I really hope they do not hire Daboll. I just think that would be terrible. He does not seem like a good head coach. He's a good offensive coordinator. I just do not think he is a good head coach, especially, if he were to go from how he succeed or how he did not succeed with the Giants to the Bills, that seems like a lot of pressure. I don't know if he can handle that. So yeah, I'm hoping offensive coach Klint Kubiak does seem like a good option. I like the idea of giving a guy a shot who has never been a head coach before to see what they can do, as opposed to a coach who's been around for a while and is kind of fallen off the way that Tomlin or even Harbaugh or Belichick, of course. Um, so I hope they go for Kubiak personally.
All right, well, our time is running short, but I'm going to invoke my privilege as host. Rule 17, I'm going to ask a question that was not in our production meeting. Do we feel that the Josh Allen is more likely to leave Buffalo now that he is McDermott is gone? The chance of him being no longer a Bill at the end of his career more likely now? Dan, we'll start with you.
I don't think that really affects it. I don't. McDermott was there before Josh Allen. Um, I don't think they were like super close in the way that Josh needs McDermott. I don't think. I think if Josh were to leave Buffalo, I keep calling him by his first name like I know him, but I think if Josh were to leave Buffalo, he's got another 5 years in Buffalo. If we don't get it done in 5 years, yeah, he might go to the Rams and win the Super Bowl. But I don't think Josh has any plans to leave anytime soon.
All right, that one hurt Jared. Josh said he wants to die a Buffalo legend. Is he true to his word?
I think a lot of it has to do with now he's going to be a father. Does he want to raise his kid in Buffalo or not? I think it'd be stupid for him to leave because of he's seen from the alumni how much you can build around here forever. So yeah, I think he stays. That's my prediction for Mr. Allen.
All right, Sean, what do you think?
Definitely think he stays. He he's just built too much here with the community, and I do think they'll hire a players coach. Hopefully, Klint Kubiak is that. I haven't done much research on that, but I do think him and Sean were really close. I guess he was over at his house pretty much once a week, having dinner with his family. So I know they're very close, but it's not like this contract's very movable, so he's gonna stay.
All right, well, there it is, folks. We hope that you enjoyed watching us suffer over another Buffalo Bills playoff loss. We'll be back probably when they announce a new head coach to discuss it with y'all. And until then, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it, the support. Thanks for watching for all these years, and we'll see you again real soon for Buffalo Bills pregame.
At 8:40 it'll end, so we're basically there.
I
So
was that's
Seven
good because
seconds.
I was gonna
Seven
say something.
seconds. Three,
Okay, yeah, yeah. All right.
two,
See you later.
one.